This is a 2025 Nissan Rogue Rock Creek, a brand new trim for the Rogue for the 2025 model year, and it has all the Rock Creek goodies, including a super big roof rack and all-terrain tires, not to mention a cool camera system and some styling changes as well. And as I bet you can tell, I am not on my usual route. I'm not even close to it. I'm not even on a road. I am in an off-road park as a guest of Nissan to check out the Rogue and its new capabilities and kind of see how this thing feels. This new Rogue Rock Creek falls right in the middle of the Rogue lineup. It is above an SV but beneath an SL in terms of trims, and pricing kind of falls in the middle accordingly. It is $35,420, but that is before destination charge. And we've got a bit of a climb here. So clearly, I'm not going to be doing my usual full review here, but this will be a chance to see how this new Rock Creek feels when you do want to get a little bit adventurous. But for now, this is a good time for me to cut over to a chance where I got to look around and inside this vehicle in a bit more detail. Styling wise, you can tell right away that it's new because we have these orange, almost red inserts right here, and we have some orange and red in the Nissan badge right here. I think it's generally a nice look with the more polished metal look up top, the top part of the grille, and then these big fat horizontal slots down low. The top bit is blanked out, but this is real grille right here. You can see through the radiator right there. And then the hood itself has an interesting slope to it. So it subtly slopes down here and then has a curve and then goes sharper down here to the front grille. The hood is nice, but what's underneath it is quite interesting. Well, there it is, your turbocharged 3-cylinder, 1.5 liter engine. It is a variable compression turbo. That's what VST stands for. And it's interesting to see how little space it takes up. You know, the engine here to there, and then you have this super big beefy engine mount right there, and then the battery's tucked right next to it right there, fuse box right there, windshield washer fluid is way over there. This is inherently a front wheel drive setup, so the engine is transversely mounted or side to side like that. This engine makes 201 horsepower and 225 pound-feet of torque. Not bad for a 1.5 liter. The other interesting part is there's no hybrid anything going on here. So this is still purely internal combustion engine powered. Looking at the car in profile, it still largely looks like a Nissan Rogue, except for a couple of pretty obvious things. And this particular car is painted in Baja Storm paint, and I think it's a nice color. But let's talk about the differences. First of all, obviously it's a Rock Creek. It tells you so right there. Also, look at this huge, beefy roof rack right here. This is a tubular roof rack. This is specific to the Rock Creek. It's got this little symbol right here. And Nissan says that this can hold 220 pounds dynamically. That means you can travel with 220 pounds of weight on this thing. It's nice and beefy. You've also got these little 2 horizontal slots and 3 vertical slots right there. It's told that indicates the number 23. Interesting little thing right there. And I think generally it's a nice looking Nissan. Let me go ahead and put the dimensions up on the screen so you can check those out. This is a standard Rogue. You do not have any extra ground clearance or anything like that, but let me add ground clearance because it's not bad, 8.2 inches. The biggest change in terms of actual vehicle performance difference to the Rock Creek is this Falcon Wild Peak all-terrain tire. It looks aggressive, and it is legitimately a good tire for this type of terrain. It rolls on a 17-inch aluminum wheel, and I think fits the part really nicely. And yes, this is a square setup. The wheel and tire in back is the same size as what's in front. Looking at the car from the rear, you can see just how high up the roof rack extends from the roof itself. And you can also see the Nissan logo, Rogue right here, all-wheel drive next to the two peaks right here, and then these big, fat, beefy tail lamps right here. Another interesting little trait is if you look down low, we have these ridges built into the lower bumper. Adds a tiny touch of ruggedness. I think it's nice. One thing Nissan did that I do really appreciate is no faux exhaust or anything like that. We have one real single tailpipe right down there, and it's also awfully big, I have to say. For a compact SUV like this, I think it looks perfectly fine, and it does hold a fair amount of cargo. This is a power lift gate, and it exposes a healthy amount of cargo space. It is a fairly low loading floor, and because it's a Rock Creek, we have this nice all-weather top to the floor right here. Underneath the floor, we do have a temporary spare tire, which is nice and easy to access. And we do also have a healthy amount of cargo space. I will go ahead and put the amount up on the screen right now for you to see. And if you need more, that is really easy to do. Pull a couple of levers and you have more cargo space. And I will go ahead and put that number on the screen for you to check out. All right, let's check out that second row. Even though this is a compact SUV, it's pretty spacious back here. Just by looking at it, you can see I have a decent amount of leg room right there, and the seat bottom looks fairly high as well. And sure enough, I do have a solid 1.5 to 2 inches of knee room, and I have a good amount of leg room as well. I am 5 feet 11 inches or 181 centimeters tall, and I also have plenty of headroom, a good 2 inches of headroom. And the seat bottoms are reasonably high. They're not quite as high as I hoped, so my thigh support is only decent, but I still have less than a 90-degree bend in my knees. And I do also have 2 USB Type-C ports to charge things up, and if I need to rest my arm, no problem at all. I do have an armrest with cup holders, so yeah, it'd be fine back here for adults, no problem. We do have the typical controls on the door. Because we have the premium package, we also have 2-position seat memory. We also have a heated steering wheel and some other things. I'll go ahead and put the list on the screen right now for you to check out. It is a healthy amount of stuff. Being the Rock Creek, we do have these all-season floor mats. They are kind of like tucked in and built in nicely, so that will really help capture the vast majority of the mud and grit and dirt that would fall into the car. That's nice. We do have power seats, and the seats do have lumbar support, which is always nice. We do also have this 2-level shelf for the lower console right here, and that's a healthy amount of space. You can adjust both the tilt and telescope manually right there. The steering wheel itself is a nice fat rim, easy to hold on to, and I do like this orange stitching right here. This is a little goofy, this part, but it's not bad. We do have a flat bottom to the wheel as well as several media controls to the left and cruise control options to the right of the steering wheel. You are still looking at analog gauges in the Nissan Rogue, but we do have what looks like 4-inch screen in between, which has plenty of pertinent information. And next to that, we do have an 8-inch center display right here. And this center display does have wired Apple CarPlay and wired Android Auto. Push button start is down here. And there's the instrument cluster lit up and the center display lit up. Beneath that, we do have dual zone climate control, heated front seats, and like I said, because of the premium pack, a heated steering wheel. We do have additional controls for the dual zone climate control right there. We do also have a wireless smartphone charger and 2 more USB Type-C ports right there and another 12-volt plug right there. Beneath that, we do have this stumpy looking Prindle right here. Just kind of just move and spring back like that. But you can see it says D/M. You do have paddle shifters, upshift on the right, downshift on the left. And behind the Prindle, we do also have an electric parking brake, 2 pretty deep cup holders, and drive modes, which I'll get to in just a moment. Beneath that, we do have more storage right there, and it's lovely. Looking up, we do have a sunglasses holder right here, a couple light options, and that's about it. No moonroof here, and that suits me fine because that gives us plenty of headroom. All right, let's talk drive modes. We do have several drive modes in the Rogue Rock Creek, including Sport, Eco, Auto, Snow, and Off-Road. And when you turn Off-Road on, as long as you're going 12 miles an hour or less, you get this surround view camera setup. So that is looking forward, and that is on either side. So you get a good chance to see exactly what the car is doing. And the way the cameras are pointed, as I turn the wheel, you can see very clearly where the front tires are pointed. And if I put it in reverse, of course you can see what's behind you as well. Not tons of luxury in here, but this is a mainstream compact crossover SUV, and one meant to be a little bit more rugged at that. So I think it's perfectly appropriate. As you can see, I never got on a road to show you around this car, and I've got more hills to climb and hills to descend and things to crawl through. So let's get back to this off-road drive. All right, let's dig into the powertrain. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the powertrain before we get to the more serious off-roading parts of this trail. It is a turbocharged 3-cylinder engine with what Nissan calls variable compression ratio. It is the same engine that is in every Rogue, and it is the same engine that's been in the Rogue since the 2022 model year. As we descend this lovely little gravel hill right here.
Alright, we'll make our little S-turn into here. This is known as electric slide. I'm sure you guys have been down this before, but great point to, in the center of the dial, you'll see hill descent control. Push that button, it'll light up, and then also in your EVIC unit, you'll see it lit up. Let the vehicle do its thing all the way down the hill.
As the radio just said, we're going down a steep hill here, so I'm going to turn on hill descent control and give it a try. I will certainly not need all 201 horsepower and 225 pound-feet of torque that this 1.5 liter 3-cylinder provides, but it's good to know that I have that level of power in an SUV this size, and it's good to know that I also have things like hill descent control. So we're going down a steep and winding gravel hill, and it does look awfully steep. My feet are not on the gas or on the brake. This is all the car. This is all the Rogue doing this. And my feet want to be on the brakes right now, but I'm holding steady. We're holding off. Right on the instrument cluster, I do have a yellow hill descent control indicator on the right side, on the speedometer side. I also have a graphic that shows 3 different cameras to give me an idea of what's going on directly in front of me and what's on either side, and that's helpful to have, certainly. You can hear the anti-lock brakes buzzing.
It's totally up to you guys if you want to keep hill descent control on throughout. I like to play with it in different scenarios, so feel free just to driver preference, whatever you want to do.
And that was a particularly soft patch of gravel right there, and it still managed speed just fine through that. And now we're getting to the bottom, no problem at all. Connected to the 1.5 liter engine is a continuously variable transmission. That is a fairly common thing in Nissan vehicles, the smaller ones. And so far, it's been handling the off-road part of things just fine. I believe the top speed we got to was 20. So this isn't exactly a full-throated review of the transmission, but it is handling the off-road portion of things without any trouble. And because this is a Rock Creek, this does send power to all 4 wheels. This is standard all-wheel drive being a Rock Creek, but it is not all-wheel drive for all Rogues. There are front-wheel drive versions of this SUV. Talking about the chassis a little bit, the biggest difference we have here is that we have all-terrain tires. These are called Falcon Wild Peak tires, and we've been on some fairly loose gravel so far, uphill, downhill, and it's gripping the road just fine. And then we've also got a big roof rack, as I mentioned, and some styling changes, and then we have a surround view camera system. But you still have the stock 8.2 inches of ground clearance, which is fine, but it's half an inch lower than a standard Subaru Forester, just to give some context. And we do have some unique shock absorber tuning, but nothing altogether outside of what a Rogue would typically feel like. We also have unique electric power steering tuning, but I think both of those things are largely meant to just compensate for the fact that we have a fairly different tire, and that these tuning changes are to make this Rogue, the Rock Creek Rogue, feel more like other Rogues. So more than anything, this is a standard Rock Creek, and Nissan has assured me that we are running standard tire pressures and everything. These are bone stock vehicles that we are taking through this trail. So as you can see, we're teetering on these high sides in between ruts because, you know, the ground clearance is only so-so. And with that, and with these chassis changes, I'm now going to just basically focus on how it feels to be off-roading this Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. We're coming up to a spot where there's a claim that we'll be on just 2 wheels for part of the time here, which is 2 fewer than I like to be on, but hey, here we go. Yep, and you can hear VTC working, transferring torque, but yeah, no problem at all. This is a good highlight of showing what SUVs are capable of, even though they are rarely exercised like this. It's nice to see that, you know, if you want to get more adventurous, you can do more than you probably think. And the Rock Creek does give you some extra confidence. That tire makes a big, big difference. But also, I think an important component here, this roof rack up here, 220 pounds of dynamic load. That means you can travel with a lot of weight on that roof rack and be confident that it's strong enough to hold everything in place. And that's nice to know. I appreciate knowing that. So we're going through a fairly level section here, right here. We got some Michigan fall leaves right here. I am still in Michigan, but I think we have some more obstacles coming up soon. I did turn off, so we did vehicle descent control for that one steep hill. I have since turned it off. We'll see if anything tempts me to turn it back on. Another, you know, nice thing about the Rogue is it's not a very big SUV. You know, this is Honda CR-V sized. You don't have a huge long wheelbase to worry about, and it's on the narrower side. This is closer to 70 inches than 80. That helps because that gives you just a little less vehicle to worry about side to side. Also, because we have this monitor, we have a very good understanding of what's on either side and what's directly in front of us. In fact, this is a good time for me to turn on another camera and show you what I'm talking about. Well, this is a perfect time to show you these cameras because we're about to do some water fording right here. So these are the 3 cameras, left side, right side, and directly in front of us. You can see the Rogue ahead of us going through it right now.
Left. Yeah.
And I'm going to heed the warning and stay to the left. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, good fun. Good, clean fun, lovely. And now the tires are clean. So there we go, we splashed through a good, I don't know, 8-10 inches of water, probably maybe a foot, and it handled it just fine. Nissan doesn't give an official number of its top water fording depth, but you can get through some deep puddles without any trouble anyway. And we are back on the dry, going through some quick whoops here. Up, scrape the front bumper just the tiniest bit on that one, but generally it's just fine. See if I can clean the windshield for you guys. Well, that's better. More than anything, this is a standard Rogue. The biggest change we have here are the tires. But when it comes to clearances and those types of things, we are largely dealing with a crossover compact SUV here. And even a mostly standard compact crossover SUV can get through these kind of trails and go up and down some very serious stuff without too much trouble. And it's nice to be able to see that and feel that. You know, we're getting bounced around in here a fair amount, but I'm staying comfortable. These are what Nissan calls water repellent seats. They help keep dry, and they almost have like a water wicking effect, similar to shirts and things like that. And they're comfortable. They offer good support. You have decent bolstering, both upper and lower, and it is perfectly reasonable in here. I also am enjoying the fact that I have heated seats, although I'm not using them. Maybe I should. Yeah, that's actually better. And because this has the premium package, I also have a heated steering wheel. And so I'm very comfortable right now. All right, got a little bit of slip through there, but then the traction control moved things around and everything just got fine. Now, I cannot see a thing at the moment, so I'm going to look at my monitor to know where to go. Picking up a little bit of speed, feel the bouncing a bit. Yeah, so I got above 12 miles an hour, so my view turned off for that. All right, now we're gonna go up a fairly steep hill. You can probably see on the windshield camera that we're going up a pretty steep climb, but I'll show you what we're looking at right here. There is one vehicle ahead of me that's going up right now. All right, here we go. See what I can see on the monitor here. It's pretty rutted, but it's not all that steep, to be honest, so it's not so bad. And we're gonna stay to the left here to avoid some of those deeper ruts right there. We get a little bit of slip from the all-wheel drive system, but the computer sorted that out, no problem at all. Yeah, there we are. Now, we haven't been super hard on the throttle much, as you can bet, but I will say I've been fairly happy with the engine sounds I'm hearing from this 3-cylinder engine. It is quiet generally, and I appreciate that. I haven't had a chance to do tons of watt, of course, but the tune of the exhaust has been a pleasant surprise. Looks like we're going to go down a fairly steep hill again, so I'm going to turn hill descent control back on. And I'm also definitely going to make use of these cameras, because all I can see looking out of the windshield is, you know, hills and then nothingness. This could be a cliff for all I knew out of the windshield. But from these cameras right here, I can see just fine that it's, oh, and once we go over the initial descent, it's not even that steep. So I'm back on the throttle, actually. 201 horsepower, 225 pound-feet of torque has been plenty for this little exercise. And again, the noise, the refinement of this engine is better than I expected. Generally speaking, the 3-cylinder engines that I've dealt with have been a little bit buzzy and a little bit underwhelming in terms of engine sound. So I'm pleasantly surprised with the sound quality I'm getting here. Now all I can see is sky, so looking at the cameras again, and there we are. I have to say, this has been a generally non-stressful experience. You know, this is not serious off-roading by any stretch of the imagination, but it's also definitely farther than most people would go in their own vehicles when it comes to off-roading. So, you know, this should be confidence inspiring if you want to get to a deeper, more remote trailhead or do some like proper camping where you're really off on your own. This vehicle can get you there and get you there pretty comfortably. Oh, and this hill is steeper. Oh, man. And so we've got the hill descent control on. I do not have my foot on the gas or the brake, and it is handling just fine. This is a harder packed ground, so it's actually not so bad, but yeah, no, it's definitely eye-opening, the steepness of this hill. And that kind of gets to my point. You know, this vehicle will take you more places if you want to then go on an adventure on your own some. And I think that that is nice and handy to have. Now, there are trade-offs. You are not going to get as good fuel economy as you would in other Rogues. This has that big roof rack up top, and it also has the all-terrain tires, which generally have higher rolling resistance. So it's going to suffer. I'll go ahead and put the fuel economy numbers up on the screen right now for you to see. And now I'll put the standard Rogue fuel economy numbers up on the screen for you to see. So you can see that it is costing you a little bit. It is not free to go with the Rock Creek in terms of fuel economy. But if you're interested in having this kind of confidence in the capability of the SUV, you know, that's probably a pretty willing trade-off. Plus, we're not talking about bad fuel economy here. You know, it's still respectable considering everything. It's just not as good as some other things out there. Also, this is not a hybrid, so there are definitely some hybrid options that would beat this comfortably. But again, this is an off-roading version of a compact SUV. So, you know, 2 strikes in terms of the fuel economy department. But I think the styling is appropriate for what this SUV is. The comfort level is better than I expected for what this is. And, you know, I think the price is reasonable considering all that. So overall, I think that this is a good, viable option for people that want it just a little bit more adventurous when it comes to going places. Appropriately enough, we'll finish this video by finishing what they call the Tetons, this nice steep and winding hill up the road. You can see pretty clearly what it is over the windshield, but I also have this camera view right here, which definitely helps me out. And this has been comfortable, as I said, and it's not just the capability of the vehicle, but the comfort and the lack of stress for the capability. That's what I appreciate. We're going down this steep hill right now, and again, no brake, no throttle, and I'm putzing right down, no problem. And then I have a steep ascent right away. This one gets awfully steep. I can't see anything. Let's see if I can come to stop right around here. You know, I could barely see the tops of trees, but if I look at the screen here, I can see just fine. And then it's a pretty sharp crest over here, so I'm going to crank the wheel just a little bit. Oh yeah, and back down we go. But hill descent control is handling it just fine. The 2025 Nissan Rogue Rock Creek is for the kind of person that's interested in doing the things that a lot of people do in vehicles these days, and what compact crossover SUVs are just innately good at, delivering solid fuel economy while still giving you lots of space. This one allows you to get a little bit more adventurous as well. I'm Robin Warner. Thank you very much for watching.